What if the scariest thing in a horror game wasn't the monster? What if it was your neighbor? FUNERALOPOLIS, later renamed Grobnopolis, is a small horror game made by one person, a solo dev who goes by Banana Jeff. He first released it on itch.io with a planned paid version on Steam in the future. He changed the name so people wouldn't confuse it with a song by the band Electric Wizard. The game is slow for being only 1 hour long. In a good way, there's no jump scares, no action, no monsters chasing you. You just walk around your apartment building, questioning your neighbors, trying to understand what's happening to your city. It's less about action and more about the lore hiding underneath. But here's the thing, I don't think this game is about some cloud monsters. It's something else. It's about what it feels like to live under martial law. It's about loneliness, paranoia, betrayal, where everyone is watching you. In short, Grobnopolis is about Poland in the 80s, allegedly. The city in the game is called Huta Grobno, which in Poland there's a place called Nowa Huta. I think I just butchered the name, but it's a city built by the communists as a perfect workers' town. The game is set in 1983, which is right at the end of martial law in Poland. In this game, there's a group called the Church of Faith and Enlightenment. In real history, the church was the only safe place people had. But in Grobnopolis, it's flipped. The church isn't helping anyone. They are the one doing the harm. They have complete control over everything. I mean, if you listen to the radio broadcast, you always hear from the news broadcast or the private frequency from the church. They're censoring every information from the mines or the buildings. They encourage cooperation, even if it means telling on your neighbors. You know, the usual. Now, to be honest, the dev never said this game is about Poland in the 80s. He only said it takes place in Central or Eastern Europe in a totally different timeline. So this is not a one-to-one copy of real history. It's more like that feeling of that history layered within a horror game. If you decide to play the game, pay close attention to the colors used throughout. Red, the most important one, from the thick, dark liquid in the flooded mine that the game calls the soup, the strange sound from the crack in your wall, the nightmare world you fall into, your own hand slowly turning red. Almost feels like red is a character itself that, in my opinion, means fear. There's also white. When the church empties a building, they mark it with a plain white rectangle, so this would suggest some kind of control from the church. Most of the dialogue is also in white, except for Genida and this next character. Let's talk about Adam. He is your friendly neighbor. He is very social, like really, really social. I mean, he spawns out of nowhere. His dialogue text isn't white or red. It has a pink tint, like red and white mixed together. The colors we just talked about. Now that we know white means control and red means fear, or in other words, control through fear, this could suggest that Adam is neither. He isn't controlled by the church or by the soup. He's simply an outlier in this universe. Now, the reason for the title Adam as a Secret is because I initially had a theory around Adam being an informant for the church. I had to scrap that out after reading the game's booklet. Most of my clues consisted of the colorist dialogue, the silhouette you see near the end of the game, even a picture of himself with a much older version of himself in the booklet. After realizing I was completely wrong, I looked at the silhouette again and again and again until I realized it wasn't just a reused asset that matched Adam's shapes. It was just another psychological trick by the game. Not a cheap scare, but another way the game keeps you in that state of paranoia. It made me think I knew who it was, but again, I was wrong. And at this point, I wasn't playing the game was playing me. Shit. Here's the thing, unless you're a psycho, the game never gives you a good ending. There's this moment where the church's scientist asks you if you've noticed anything unusual. If you choose not to tell them about your cracked wall, everybody dies, including you. And if you do decide to tell them, the residence dies anyway, with the only difference being you get a front row seat at the church's HQ while your neighbors are torn apart in the street below. I mean, you did survive, but at what cost? And that's what makes this such a masterful piece of writing. It's not a heroism versus cowardice choice. It's a much older, much colder question, one that Poland's own history knew all too well. When the state comes asking if you've noticed anything unusual, do you inform and buy yourself a slightly softer landing? Or do you stay silent and share your neighbor's fate? There's no captain going down with the ship here, there's just two ways of losing. One alone in a room full of backstabbers, and one in an ocean of blood. FUNERALOPOLIS doesn't ask you to be a hero, it asks you what you're willing to become to avoid the ending anybody gets anyway. You just can't fight it. So after all of this, what about the monsters? The creatures in the clouds? They barely matter, at least in my opinion, even though they look like a bunch of mutated giraffes with long legs and slow walk, which once you see it, it's hard to unsee. But by the time they actually appear, the real damage is already done. The city didn't fall apart because of the monsters, it fell apart because of the raids, the reporting, the disappearance of your neighbor. The monsters aren't the cause of the horror, they're just the final stage of that inescapable apocalypse. This was never really a story about clown monsters. It's a story about watching your neighbor a little too closely, wondering if the person next door is protecting you or reporting you. Grobnopolis doesn't need monsters to scare you. It already knows that the scariest thing in the world are people.